Production funding for After Abbey on WPSU comes from Caparella Furniture, serving the area with furniture, flooring, and home decorating ideas for more than 60 years, with locations in Bellefonte and Lewistown. Information at caparella.com. And from Confers Jewelers on the Diamond in Victorian Bellefonte, a family and staff dedicated to bringing a taste of luxury and beauty to yours. And from viewers like you, thank you.
Good evening and welcome to After Abbey, the live post-Downton Abbey interactive talk show where we invite you to discuss all things Downton with us. Hi, I'm Whitney Sheridan along with my fellow producers and co-hosts Jessica Peters and Lindsay Whistle. Joining us on the phone this evening is Rebecca Eaton, executive producer of Masterpiece. For more than 26 years, she has brought high-profile miniseries such as Prime Suspect, Bleak House, Cranford, Little Dorrit, Sherlock, and of course, Downton Abbey to PBS. And you can be a part of this conversation. Email us at afterabby@wpsu.org. You can tweet a question to us at AfterAbbey or visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/AfterAbbeyTV. We always welcome your correspondence. We will open the phone lines to our viewers a little later in the show, but first, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, it's great to be here.
Well, you know, you've been working with Masterpiece for so long, and, you know, so many wonderful stories have come to life on screen, on public television. How do you know when you've selected the perfect story?
I never know. I never know. I think each time this will be it, but it's really, really hard to tell. And Downton Abbey was the biggest and the best surprise we've had in a long time.
Rebecca, this is Lindsay here. How surprised were you? I mean, I keep meeting people who this is their first experience, even as regular public television viewers. I mean, it really has brought a whole new group of people to public television to experience the wonderful productions of Downton Abbey.
Yeah, lightning definitely did strike. We always knew it would be good. And we were looking forward to it. It had aired, Downton Abbey Series 1 had aired in England a few months before our first in January of 2011. It was 2 years ago. And we knew it was very big over there, but we really didn't know if it would catch on in the same way here. And the reviews were good, and we aired it. It was a Sunday night just like this. And then we rushed into work the next morning to see what the ratings were, and they were pretty much off the charts and continued to climb. And the first episode of Downton Abbey Series 3, which was January 6th of this year, was the highest rated drama in PBS history.
And there have been so many, you know, spoofs that we've seen on things like Saturday Night Live. I mean, we've seen, you know, the men of Downton have been on the Colbert Report?
Yeah.
Even, you know, I mean, it's just gotten, it's everywhere now.
Yes, it's in the water. It is truly in the water, and it is hard to pick up, I don't know, a Sunday paper in almost any city. We get clippings, of course, of all of these things, and it's hard to find a paper that doesn't have some reference. Sometimes it's a television reference, a fashion reference, a real estate reference, and sometimes even an economic reference. It has become, in a way, you know, part of the national conversation, and I think it's really interesting that the San Francisco 49ers actually chose to pull the plug in New Orleans in order not to have to compete with Downton Abbey at 9 o'clock. I mean, that is really a tribute.
That was. We were saying we'd like to see a Downton halftime show. And we'd see the Dowager.
You'd have Daisy doing the foxtrot.
Yes,
possibly,
I'm sure. I think the Dowager had something to do with that 35 last-minute power outage.
We were wondering the Dowager or possibly some Branson, or some Thomas Branson,
O'Brien,
but Thomas and O'Brien. So
I couldn't possibly comment.
Good call. So speaking of these intriguing characters that you have, is there a character or storyline that over the years has really taken a hold of you, and a character that maybe that you've personally identified with?
Oh, what an interesting question. Well, it gets complicated because at the beginning, I think I always identified with Robert, Lord Grantham, just because he's supposed to be the guy in charge and to have all the answers, and then things start going wildly wrong, and he doesn't have all the answers, so he feels like the executive producer, of the family. But let's see, over the years, who else? Wow, I don't want to say the Dowager Duchess, because that would really date me. I can't possibly say that. I do feel Cora, Elizabeth McGovern, the mother of 3 girls, and she herself, Elizabeth McGovern, has 2 girls, 2 teenage girls, and I have a daughter too. So I think particularly in this last series with the loss of Sybil and how that is changing her, and she really does change as a character. I just love how Elizabeth played that, and I know it was hard for her to play that because it's very close to home, and I just thought it was so moving how she reacted to the loss of her girl.
I think they both her and Alan Leach did such an amazing job with that portrayal. I mean, it was just, it was
and
amazing.
Robert in this last episode just tonight, and the Dowager Duchess kind of orchestrated a way for the husband and wife to sort of get back together after this terrible thing. And I thought the last scene tonight was just, it made me cry again, seeing it for the however many times.
Do you ever, Rebecca, why do you think it is that, the U.S. audience has really, really taken to Downton, obviously? We've been talking about, what is it about British dramas what's the allure of it for the United States?
We have, Masterpiece is 42 years old, 41, 42, and it caught on right away in 1971 and has had such a steady, loyal audience. I think it's the quality of the productions because the British really love their heritage and they put a lot of money into these productions. The training of the actors, the quality of the acting, and that it's not just television. Of course, so many of the actors that you know and love from Masterpiece are big stars. And Judi Dench and Helen Mirren and, Ralph Fiennes was actually on Prime Suspect 1. There's so many actors going on to be. The only actor who I think who has not been on, the biggest British actor who has not been on Masterpiece would be, guess who? Do you want to guess? It's a guy. It's a man.
I was thinking Hugh Grant.
Who?
Hugh Grant.
No, he was. He was in something we did called Impromptu. Not Hugh Grant. Do you want to take another guess? A really big actor this year. Really big. Really tall.
Oh, Hugh Lord? No, of course not.
He's been on
Of course he has. He's been on tons of...
Oh, girls, come on.
I don't...
Totally blanking.
Probably going to win.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's flooding there.
He's the one that got away. He's the one that got away.
Well, maybe he's watching now and he'll take the hint.
Hoping that he could be offered a part on Downton Abbey. Yes, I think that's probably true.
Well, Rebecca, I know that I've read that you part of your start into this industry was, a love of literature, and, this is such a great job for you. I've read that because of your great love of novels. Is there a dream, story or something that you'd love to see come to Masterpiece, or a character maybe that perhaps Daniel Day-Lewis could play?
Anything he wants to do. He could play Queen Victoria, and I would say yes. No, I think about this all the time, and there's probably one project a week that I would love to see. But I have to say, my secret dream is that somehow we could do American stories on Masterpiece, that there could be an American Masterpiece that had as much of our literature and history and biography and social history it would be so wonderful if we could have what they have. But you know, the finances are so different in this country as opposed to in England that I think that's a long shot. But I can't read a paper or a book or a magazine and not think, oh, wait, that would be great. That could be a 6-part story. That could be a returning series. I think when you do this all day, you're just kind of, you're tuned in. Your antenna are always out looking for stories, you know, love stories, adventure, great drama, tragedy, comedy. You know, it's actually a bit of a curse. You can't just read the paper or walk down the street without thinking about it all the time.
And there's much more to come this season on Masterpiece.
Yes. Yes.
We're very excited.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
Downton Abbey finishes up on February 17th. There are 2 more episodes till the end. Then there is pledge break for some weeks. Then on March 31st, we start a new, I think it's 8-week series. I don't even remember. It's at least 8 weeks, and it is a story called Mr. Selfridge, and it is set in the early part of the 20th century in London, and it is the story of Harry Gordon Selfridge, who was an American from Chicago, who went to London and made shopping an art. And he is played by Jeremy Piven, the American actor Jeremy Piven from Entourage. So that is our next big long-running series, and over the summer we will have more Foyle's War with Michael Kitchen. We'll have more Lewis's. We have more Endeavors, which was the prequel to Inspector Morse. It's young Endeavor Morse in just out of Oxford in the early 1960s. So we have 4 of those. So we have mystery all summer from sort of late May, June, actually June up until September.
So, Rebecca, you've told us a lot about some of the upcoming TV series we can look forward to. Do you ever see a place for Masterpiece on the big screen?
Movies, wow.
Downton Abbey, the movie?
Downton the movie. I see. Well, there has been so much talk about Downton the movie, Downton the musical, Downton the book, and there are no plans at the moment for any of those things to happen because Julian Fellows, who created Downton Abbey and who writes every word, is still writing Series 4, which is the one that we are beginning to start shooting tomorrow, this coming week. Series 4 will go into production. It takes right through the summer to shoot it, and it will be on Masterpiece a year from now. There will be a Downton Abbey Series 4.
Wow.
That's official.
Well, I heard, are there rumors of a season 5? There's something on, the internet today about that all over.
I couldn't possibly
You
comment
couldn't
on that
possibly
either. Wait a minute, ladies. One thing at a time. We have to finish Series 3
We just can't
first.
get enough.
You don't want After Abbey to be the place where this big announcement is made.
You want the scoop.
The scoop.
No, I can't. I couldn't possibly comment. Just calm down. Wait till next week.
All right.
It's coming. It's coming. Good things are going to happen. It's going to be very exciting.
Well, Lindsay was just asking you about seeing a movie or a film of Downton. Masterpiece has been on public television for more than 40 years. Is there anywhere else it could be besides public television?
No, absolutely not. I don't think so. And British drama goes in and out of favor. It can be very hot, and HBO will do something with a British actor, or they'll do a British drama, but they'll do one a year, and then or maybe one every 2 or 3 years. And Masterpiece has created a platform for the best of British drama, and every week for 52, we are preempted by pledge, but we are reliably the place for the best of British drama. And I don't think there's any place else that would make that kind of commitment.
We have had lots of folks on Twitter tonight that have been tweeting about tonight's episode, and there are some really great comments. One of our loyal tweeters said that this is the first time he has missed the Super Bowl because he wanted to tune in and see what was going on tonight on Downton Abbey,
wow.
which is pretty cool. We like that very much. We did have a question that maybe you could help us answer. One of our followers wanted to know, what has Elizabeth McGovern been doing since she was in Ordinary People until now? There was that she had quit the movies to just move to London and to live this life. And what was it that drew her into this series in particular?
She actually has been working quite a lot. She did marry an Englishman, Simon Curtis, who, as it happens, is a director, and he discovered Daniel Radcliffe and directed him in David Copperfield, which was on Masterpiece, 10, 15 years ago, when Daniel was just a small boy. And Simon Curtis also directed My Week with Marilyn, about Marilyn Monroe, a feature film that came out a while ago. So she has been living in London. She has 2 girls, but she works all the time. She does theater, she does television, and she's been doing some movies. She did less when the girls were small. She also recently has been singing in a band.
I've read about them a lot.
Yes. Yes, I actually went and saw her in London.
Mm-hmm.
It was fabulous. No, she has cut a CD.
Mm-hmm.
She sings in the band, and she's made some movies. She does, maybe one movie every couple of years, but she made a real choice to kind of devote herself to raising her family and sort of living close to home, rather than continuing that trajectory she was on when she did Ordinary People with Robert Redford.
Well, we're so glad that she's chosen to come to Downton, of course.
Yes, yes, and she's been, it's interesting because people know her pretty well in England, but when she comes here, the publicity that she gets and the affection that she's met with when she comes back here is amazing, and I think it's because of that part. In Ordinary People, she really, really got under people's skin, and they just loved her, that young woman that she was then. And she's still the same sweet girl.
Well, as you can see, we've gotten a lot of comments on Facebook and Twitter. And real quickly, I just have one more question for you, and then we'll let you go because we know you have a lot to do Sunday nights after Downton. But, we do get a lot of feedback on Twitter, as do you. How much of the feedback do you take into account that you receive from fans, that you see, everything online, people blogging about Downton?
We have, when we did the rebranding of Masterpiece about 4 years ago, we really started beefing up our social media arm of Masterpiece, and we have a couple of people who work only on that and pay a lot of attention to where we should be, what we should be saying, and we monitor. I mean, there are people on our staff who are absolutely monitoring the conversations, and will report back to us what went on, how much traffic there was, what people were saying, because we do understand that is how people watch television and talk about television these days, and we think those are our core younger audience, because this kind of material that we broadcast really appeals to that audience. They like to talk about it, and they can spread the word. So we think of it as a really a giant, very welcome resource.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure they loved hearing that, and they'll continue the feedback.
Keep talking, yeah.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We know you have a lot more Downton to take care of, and we appreciate your time.
Yes. Okay, well, it's great to talk to you. Good questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night. Well, okay. If you're just joining us, this is After Abbey, the live post-Downton Abbey interactive talk show, and we invite your correspondence. You can call us at 1-800-543-8242. Email questions and comments to afterabbey@wpsu.org, and join the discussion on Twitter. You can tweet a question to @AfterAbbey, or you can also send us a note on Facebook. Our fan page is facebook.com/AfterAbbeyTV, and the phone lines are open right now. So we just had a great conversation with Rebecca Eaton. So much to come on Masterpiece, and of course Downton as well. But a lot happened tonight that's leading, I think, that are planting the seeds for more to come, you know. But we'll get to that, you know. What did you guys think about tonight's episode?
You know, I think that you're right. I think that this was kind of, we needed a breather after last week because it was just so intense. And this was sort of finalizing that storyline of, well, finalizing and showing that life is going to go on at Downton without Lady Sybil. But now where does everybody fall into place? You know, will Branson stay there with the baby? Will he go to Liverpool? Will he go somewhere else? What does this mean for the future of Mary and Matthew? So I think there's a lot to explore yet.
Yeah, and I really like how different people are dealing with the tragedy of Sybil's death, and I liked that moment where they're playing the piano and they say, "Oh, Mrs. Hughes, is it too soon?" And you know, downstairs, and she says, "No, Sybil was full of life, and it would make her happy to have music in the halls again." So I thought that was really moving.
That's right. I agree. I think there's a lot of like setting the stage here for more to come, and we actually have a call from Marion from Myersdale. Marion, do you have a question about the show tonight?
I have a comment and a couple of comments. First of all, isn't Rebecca Eaton the perfect name for executive producer?
It definitely is.
I mean, the whole name just sounds like it's right out of London.
It does, definitely.
I love Masterpiece Theater. I have been watching Masterpiece Theater since Alistair Cook. And I'm 64, so I must have been watching it for 40 years.
And what
no doubt.
And what do you think of Laura Linney hosting Masterpiece
I think that was a great get, you know, because because of all the work that she did in John Adams and all of that was run on PBS, and so she was a great get to represent your show. And the whole Masterpiece Classic thing has been such a huge hit across America, and I think it's because, and it could never be produced in America because, although there's a suggestion of sex, there's a suggestion of homosexuality, there's a suggestion of whatever, it's never going to be gross and graphic enough to run and be successful in this country, you know, because then that would ruin their whole appeal. The whole appeal of this show is the good taste that everything is encompassed in the show itself. There is no, and even the minute somebody loses it, then they just look like they don't even belong there.
That's right, and that's why it's on public television.
Exactly, and that's why this is the greatest thing for public television. I just wish there was a way you could really exploit it to get people to watch all the other great things that you have. I can't believe the great shows that are on channel. Well, I get your Clearfield channel 3 for me.
Well,
but across the state, I mean, I keep talking to people about the various.
Well, we
appreciate the whole thing you did on the Black History Month.
Oh, Marion, well, thank you so much for out there being an ambassador for us, and we thank you for tuning in tonight. We also have Carol from Du Bois on the line. Hi, Carol.
Hi. Good job, ladies.
Thanks.
My question is, I'm wondering the timeline as far as to whether women can inherit property, because if Dan Stevens, also known as Matthew, does not come back and Mary does not get pregnant, where does that leave Downton Abbey? In the hands of someone else again?
Oh, well, that's a great question.
And I think that the whole series, this third season, is really exploring that issue of where do women's roles lie. And, you know, I'm not certain about the history of that I mean, I think it was written into the will of Robert's father of how the money would be dispersed. But, you know, you look at women's suffrage and you look at what Edith is doing, and certainly the storyline with Ethel and how they're coming to accept Ethel a little bit more. Really, the story of women and how that role is changing has been a big part of this season, I believe.
I think that's something that we want to try to talk more about on our last show after the finale, maybe.
Absolutely. And I think also just from the economic standpoint of how will the inheritance work, because it's been, I don't know, kind of diluted through the years. And we've had Cora's money invested in Downton, and then the new inheritance that Matthew got from Lavinia's father. So it's not like it's just the Crawley line anymore, and I don't know how that works from a legal standpoint. So that is a really good question.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Carol. We also have Denise from Indiana. Hi, Denise. What's your question?
Hi, Whitney. Hi, Jess.
Hey. Good to hear a familiar voice.
Yeah, I just want to compliment this show is so good.
Thank you.
It's such a nice compliment after the, after Downton Abbey. Now, quick question.
Sure.
Why didn't they do a tracheotomy on Sybil last week? When she.
We had asked that. We got a lot of questions about that, and
My theory is just that she was thrashing around pretty intensely, and I have no medical training whatsoever, but I was almost, we had discussed that, and I said, I don't even know that they could have held her still long enough
I think that it would have been so quick, too.
And they make a comment that once the seizures have started, that there wasn't much that they could do.
Yeah, the brain, she screamed about her head, so.
So we also have a call. Thanks, Denise, for your call. We have Carol from Johnstown. Carol, did you have a question?
Yes.
And what's your question tonight?
I would like to ask Rebecca if you could pass it on to her, the life story of Giuseppe Verdi. When she talks about new shows, a rerun of that series would be fabulous.
Well, we actually don't have Rebecca on the line anymore, but I had some of those questions for her, too, and we'll pass those along.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We definitely will. Thank you so much, Carol.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
And we have an update here for the women's property and what they were allowed to inherit. So apparently there was the Married Women's Property Act of 1882. It was an English law regarding the property rights, and it was granted to 2 married women to own and control their own property. So that was in 1882. So it may have just been a case of individual estates, but there were some court cases out there. Leave it to our Twitter followers to come up with some answers for us.
That's great.
Keep them coming.
We had one of our Twitter followers answer one of my questions, I think, last time, too. That was fantastic. I love to see that. Talking about the inheritance, we've still got Matthew struggling here to figure out, to get hold of the estate management. And where do we think that's going to go?
I think I think Downton's going to be shaken up quite a bit, and I think bringing Tom into the mix, I think just these new ideas for just the management in the books, and I think getting kind of traditions are changing. I mean, within the house and within the books, I think things are not going to be able to continue the way they have been.
Yeah, I mean, and don't you just love to, kind of off track a little bit, but that friendship between Branson and Matthew. I think that's such a great storyline, and I hope that's something that is continued, because I really like seeing, we see a lot, the sisterly bonds and things like that, but this is nice to see that.
And I wonder the next generation with the baby, how is that going to play out? Because you've got Tom with his very different roots and upbringing and values, but then, I don't think he's going to be able to separate her from Sybil's family's tradition, and I wonder how that's going to play out in terms of her upbringing.
Right, raising her Catholic. Will he take her to Liverpool? I mean, how is he going to raise? Is she going to be a part of their world?
And that was really good to see the family stand behind Tom at dinner with Mr. Travers, how they all chimed in, and then Robert looked over at the Dowager and said something about, well, what do you think? She's like, well, they're right.
I really did like the Dowager playing the marriage counselor this week, but she's really standing up to keep everything she can to keep the family together, to hold everything together.
Everything she does is for the family.
She's that pillar of strength.
It was well played too. It was very, I want to use the word manipulative, but she got her, she had her goal to go after, and she got the reconciliation.
Yeah. So what are you guys thinking is going to happen? Any predictions?
Well, we have some folks here on Twitter that are saying, well, in regards to Lord Grantham, that he needs to learn how to take a chill pill. People are predicting that Bates will be getting out soon. We've been waiting for it for so long. Maybe a little tiny Bates in the near future would be pretty fun to have. So yeah, and some responses to Rebecca Eaton. Some people was like, no musical, please. No Downton musical.
Well, hold that thought. We also have Linda from Johnstown. Linda, do you have a quick question?
I didn't have a question, but
Okay.
I had a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
It was similar to what you were just discussing about the relationships of Branson with the family and the baby and all. When Matthew and Mary came up and they were looking at the baby, and he kind of gave a look as she was holding it, and I was wondering if there were second thoughts about maybe giving the baby to them to raise. And also with his relationship with Matthew, maybe he and Matthew could get together in running the place. And, of course, they'd be fighting against the Lord. But
well, I like that idea, though. That they had some good thoughts when they were walking across the lands there.
Branson is quite a radical. He's a revolutionary, so he might be the right person to shake things up a bit.
He's not afraid to stand up to Robert either, as we've seen.
Yeah, Linda, thanks so much for calling. You know, those were some great ideas that Linda had. I mean, and similar ones to I know that one we were discussing earlier.
And we have an email question, and it's something that we were actually talking about before we went on air tonight. Shirley MacLaine, Martha Levinson, where did she go? I mean, we know that she went back to America, but wouldn't it be great to bring her back, because she was such a great character on the show, and we didn't really get that much of her, and wouldn't that be fun to bring back?
It was really nice to see how she played against the Dowager, too. Martha versus the Dowager in that premiere episode was fantastic.
You have all things traditional and all things progressive under the same roof, so definitely some sparks.
Yeah, there were a lot of sparks that I was hoping to see more so far, but maybe the last 2 episodes will get something.
Well, maybe that's how they'll bring Daniel Day-Lewis in. He'll play her new love interest, and then she'll bring him over to meet the family. Who knows?
So is that your prediction then?
I don't know. I think we need to. I like the campaign of getting Daniel Day-Lewis on Masterpiece. So however they want to bring him in is okay with me.
Okay, that would be fantastic. So we also, people are disappointed in Dr. Clarkson. You know, how do we feel about that? With that he lied to get them back together. So how, I mean, it is ultimately, you know, good. They needed some way for Cora to get past the anger at Robert, but was that really the right way to have that happen?
It's a pretty tough call.
I had some mixed feelings, but I think in the end, actually, what he did is sort of noble. I think, you know, when you come down to the do no harm,
he was kind of putting aside his own pride to, in a way.
It wasn't even pride. There's nothing good, I think, that would come at that point from hammering home. I mean, Sybil's gone, and be that what it may, it wouldn't make a difference.
Well, we're just about out of time, and we want to thank our special guest this evening, Rebecca Eaton, executive producer of Masterpiece, for joining us on the phone tonight. We hope you'll watch Sunday, February 17th, after the conclusion of Season 3 of Downton Abbey, when we ask you to share your thoughts on the series with us. Please visit our website, wpsu.org/AfterAbbey and facebook.com/AfterAbbeyTV to be a part of the conversation right now. You can also email us. Our address is afterabby@wpsu.org. Thanks so much for joining us on your local PBS station, WPSU. Until we meet again, I'm Whitney Sheridan with my co-hosts Jessica Peters and Lindsay Whistle. Cheers. Have a good night.